So 75 to 85% of your health is based upon your diet. Only 15 to 20 is exercise. And 5% is your genetics / environment / thyroid conditions, blah, blah, blah. You hear a lot of people say, I have an underactive thyroid, my parents were overweight, and their parents were overweight. Well, that's only 5% of it. So even if all these things were against you, your genetics, your environment, blah, 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 that's 5%. Even if you didn't do any exercise, that's 15 to 20%. So if you still had your diet in check, everything would fall into place, and you would get your goals accomplished. And that's pretty much all there is to it. What you put into your body determines how you look. And if you're putting an overabundance of foods in your body that you don't need, your body's going to store them. That's all there is to it. There's only two ways to gain weight. One way is famine, and the other way is overabundance, which means you're either eating too many calories all day long, or you're starving yourself all day and eating your abundance of calories at night. Those are the two ways to gain weight. Those are the only two ways to gain weight. So, out of curiosity, if you were to follow this guy right here into 52 weeks, you would see that he, went down in weight and then went back up in weight. And when he gets back to his 200 pounds, that's when he says, well, what am I going to do? Well, last time, Weight Watchers or Jenny Craig or whatever worked, that's what I'm going to do again. So he does it again, and he gets down there, and he starts to feel like garbage again, and the trend continues. And that's a whole year for this fella. And I don't know if they did this intentionally. It didn't ever come up in my research, but if you think about it, cha-ching, this is when Weight Watchers is making money right there. It's not just not a one-time dollar charge for their products and their food or blah, blah, blah. It's every time you come back up and decide to do it again, it's going to be another monetary value that they set. And so whether or not that's intentional, your lean body mass always does not make it back up. So the end of that chart is going to look like that, and that's permanent damage. Now this is called, in the personal training industry, the yo-yo effect. I'm sure everybody's heard that term before. It's when your weight goes up and down and up and down and up and down. And that is a killer. You can permanently damage your immune system. You can permanently damage your metabolic rate. And you can do a lot of adverse effects on your body that way that are just completely irreversible. And, a small fine and a waiver on TV, I don't think that's enough. If it were up to me, I would have locked them all up, And again, there's nothing magical about the 6-week mark, anytime, or the 12-week mark for that matter. Anytime you see a commercial that says, I lost 30 pounds in 6 weeks, or I lost 30 pounds in 12 weeks, that's actually determined by a panel of overweight, out of shape people that they got together back in the mid-90s that said, what is a diet you can stick to? And they did a panel of 100 people, and the average answer was 6 to 12 weeks. And that's why the commercials target that group of people for 6 to 12 weeks. There's nothing magical about that. In reality, it takes about 20 weeks to make any positive changes. That's why your goals always have to be long-term. You have to think about this number here and not concentrate on where you are right now. And that's where I look at it in a psychological sort of way of fitness. Because if you concentrate and use your current state of being as a starting point, then you're already failed. If you go look in the mirror and you say, oh crap, I'm overweight, that means I feel like crap, then that's how you're going to feel for the rest of this time. Your goal has got to be your starting point. You want to think about how you want to be in the end and picture that every single day. And that's the only effective way psychologically to get towards the goal and to make it happen. Now we're going to talk a little bit about diet here. How am I doing on time? Bad? Are you guys awake?
Yeah.
Anybody here watch The Biggest Loser?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. And I always have people ask me, how come they lose 15 pounds in a week? How come I can't lose 15 pounds in a week? Well, number one, they're locked up from anything bad. They're in a completely sterile environment as far as health goes, besides the challenges when they lay a big plate of cookies up and make you puke on them. And number two, they're working out for 4 hours a day, which no one realistically has time for. But you can lose, realistically, 3 to 4% of your total weight in a week. So if you're 500 pounds, that number is going to be, 12 to 15 pounds in a week, like some of those guys are, But realistically, it's going to be 3 to 4% of your total weight. And that's all. That's it. That's at very best. That's with a sterile food environment and a trainer kicking your butt every single day. So that's why a lot of people are asking me, oh man, how much can I lose in the first week? You know, well, 3 to 4%.
Yeah, that's max though.
That's
right?
max. Yeah, that's absolutely max. And this chart here, and this is one of my favorite things to do, because until this was illustrated to me, I really had no idea why diet was such an important part of the whole exercise and fitness thing. Because not only timing of the diet is important, but the quality of the food that you eat is very important. There are 2 states of metabolism. I'm not going to get too far into it, because I could make a conference out of that alone. But basically, the 2 stages of the metabolism are anabolic or catabolic, which means you're always either building muscle and storing fat, or destroying muscle and using fat as fuel. So basically, you're always either going to be storing fat or burning. I would have screwed you guys all up. Burning fat or storing fat. Anything above the line is burning it, anything below it is storing it. And this is going to be a time that represents your work day. On average, if it's 9 to 5 here, and then you go to bed at 10 at night or whatever. Certain foods cause a spike in your energy levels. So this is going to represent time, and that's going to represent energy. And certain foods are pre-digested to spike your energy levels. And anytime your energy level spikes, that means your blood sugar's high. That means your pancreas has to secrete insulin enough to either shuttle that excess blood sugar into your muscles as fuel, and if you're not doing any working out, it's going to shuttle into your liver, convert it as fat, just like that. 30 minutes after you eat the meal, it's already being stored on your body as fat. And that's going to be basically anything white flour, whether that be cookies, cupcakes, donuts, pasta, anything like that. Now there are healthy sources of flour, but it certainly isn't white flour. Another thing is that there's an ingredient in white flour that they use to bleach the wheat. And they do that so it can look pretty in cakes or whatever. But the ingredient actually causes your pancreas to shut down. And that's been proven over time to happen to a lot of people. Typically, if someone's a diabetic, and it's adult diabetes, not genetic diabetes, you can almost guarantee that a staple in their diet is white flour. You can guarantee it. And that's the reason for that. So if you were to eat a meal of white flour, and this is average too, 67% of Americans eat exactly like I'm about to drop. On average, if you have any white flour for breakfast, you're going to wake up storing fat or in a catabolic mode because you've been fasting all night long. The whole entire 8-hour period you've been sleeping, you haven't been putting any energy into your body. So when you first wake up, you have a meal. And some people, it's worse. Some people will just have a cup of coffee and wait till noon to eat. I know a lot of people like that. But you have a spike in insulin, a spike in energy is a spike in blood sugar. So what happens? Your pancreas releases enough insulin to shuttle it to be stored as fat, and so your energy level drops down further than it was before. And the reason for that is you only have a certain amount of insulin to get you through for a certain period of time. Your body doesn't produce excess of it. So what's going to happen is, next time, if it comes to lunch, it's going to spike. But it's not going to spike as high as it did the first time because you're almost out of insulin. And then again, when it goes down, it's going to go lower than it did before. And, when it comes to dinner and so on. And let's say there's some snacks in here or whatever, But that's basically how it's going to look. And so how many minutes out of the day, if you added up all these spikes, are you going to be burning calories? Not very many, maybe 30 minutes, something like that, And that's not just white flour. There's a lot of other foods like that, potatoes, any kind of processed sugar, anything like that. And that's another thing. A lot of people eat potatoes with white flour and processed sugar. You go to McDonald's in the morning, you get the Egg McMuffin and the, what's that hash brown thing called?
Hash brown?
Is that called? Hash brown. Good call. And then you get a soda or coffee which has sugar, and in that case it's just gonna freaking skyrocket and crash. And that's why that's called a crash. And you get to work, you've barely even done anything. You walk to your car, but that's the only exercise you got. You got your car, you get to work, and you're already dead. It's not even noon yet, and you're just completely crashed. And that's 67% of Americans. And so what you